Hello and welcome to the East Troy Electric Railroad, East Troy, Wisconsin. Beautiful little building here, and we're gonna go right in. This place is pretty cool so far. Let's go have some fun. Alright, so we got all sorts of stuff here, including this awesome sign. I'm not gonna read it for you. Yeah, it's a cute little town here though, as y'all can see. There's what we'll be riding, an old South Shoreline train. I believe some of the sister cars are over at IRM, the Illinois Railway Museum. It's pretty cool. They have their own little kind of thing over there. All sorts of stuff. There's an ice cream parlor down the street. Pretty cute. Ooh. Very cool old building. All the things. There's the family. We're having fun today, so yeah. And these are their boarding passes and tickets. Pretty cool, huh?
Mine's different.
Things, and my mom's is different than ours. It's really cool, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, so walking in, first impressions. Place is pretty cool. All sorts of stuff up there. Just a little museum here, but still pretty cool. An old train depot. Cool stuff here. That's pretty cool.
Do you want one now or one of these?
We can grab one when we leave. We're gonna have plenty of those. So. Yeah, it's my beautiful wife and child. My mom over there. This place is pretty cool. That's really cool. It's something you don't really get to see in too many museums. All sorts of old power equipment machines. Rail cars. Some models of rail cars. I love this stuff. So. Maybe next year we'll be going to San Francisco to film the trolley cars over there. Because I missed out on it this weekend. It's okay. All the things. We've got all sorts of books and trunks and antiques. Urban Rail, science preservation, all stuff. I think that's really cool that they do that. The museum does have a dinner train. I believe they're sold out for the year. Generally around $100 to start and go up from there. It's pretty expensive, but it's worth it. Up to a 5-course meal. And then typically here things. Yeah. And that's museum part of it.
What is that?
This tie is the cold shower curtain.
I know.
Okay. There you go. Thank you. Take it, please.
Thank you.
Yep. Take it, please. Okay. All right. Yep. Thank you.
Mama, give it back so we when we go to get off. We gotta have it get back on. Well, I have my purse.
We just make a safety stop here because, as you can see, the road is under construction. We just want to make sure that there's no heavy machinery that will either hit us or we'll hit them. And nobody's running around here doing stuff they aren't supposed to do because we don't want to hit them either.
I'll go at it with him. No, she's not. I have her address.
Some of those headstones by the track were from the 20s. 100 years ago.
All right, as we are on the way, I'd like to make a couple of safety announcements to start off. First of all, we ask that you please remain seated while the train is in motion at all times. As you probably already figured out, this car likes to rock and roll. In fact, I think it invented the term as we're riding along the railroad, shake, rattle, and roll. And even though I've been doing this for almost 50 years, these little sidebars here are hard. And if I'm not paying attention, it'll trip me up, and my hips have paid the price for being banged against these more times than I care to remember. Also, this car has what is known as 1920s style air conditioning. In other words, we put all the windows up, and as we roll down the tracks, it creates a breeze and hopefully will keep it cool. Now we have the windows, the ones that will go up, in a position where we are pretty sure they will stay up. However, that is not a guarantee. So please do not put your arms, fingers, hands, legs, noses, any body parts that you want to take home with you this afternoon out the windows. Because just in case the window happens to fall down on you, it's heavy and it will hurt. I know. At a previous museum where I was volunteering, I had one of these types of windows fall on my hand and it broke 2 of my fingers. That's how heavy they are. So the car you're riding on today was built in 1923, 1924. Was delivered to the railroad known as the Chicago South Shore and South Bend Railroad in 1926. That makes these cars basically just about 100 years old. Oh my goodness, that's almost as old as I am. If you believe that, I got a bridge I'll sell you in Milwaukee. So actually the Chicago and South Shore and South Bend was a railroad that ran between the same 6 cities. Started out in Chicago, ran around the south end of Lake Michigan, served the cities of Gary, Hammond, and Michigan City all the way to South Bend. Cars were retired in 1983 after almost 60 years worth of service. After they were retired, the Park Service bought them. They were proposing to build a railroad that ran between the casinos and were being built on the land that was once occupied by the steel mills between Hammond and Gary, Indiana. That project fell through, so they donated the cars to us. Actually, if you're going to get to the Elegant Farmer, you will see a plaque that shows these cars being delivered to us. I don't remember exactly what year they were, 1989, I think. Being pulled by a Canadian National locomotive that came off the connection that was built when the railroad was originally built back in 1907. That connection at Melquanago is still in active connection with us. Anyhow, we got the cars. They were pretty much in operating condition. We really did not have to do a whole lot of work. We did refurbish, or we did take 5 of the cars. We refurbished 2 of them to serve as our dinner train. Those cars were built at the same time, but during World War II, they went into the shops in Michigan City. They were cut in half, they were lengthened, they were modernized. Basically, these old style lights were replaced with fluorescent lights. The windows were sealed, and the cars were air conditioned. When we got them, we ripped out all the seats, we repainted them, put tables in them, and that's what those 2 cars serve as our dinner train. The rest of the cars we use, basically because of the high capacity, we use for trains like this when we need a lot of people riding. We need a lot of places for people that are riding. Especially on our Santa trains, which run from Thanksgiving weekend till the weekend just before Christmas. Now, if you look straight ahead, you can see another headlight. That's the train that departed the Elegant Farmer. So the question is, what do? We got two trains but one track. Well, if you'll notice, that train is making a little slight turn. And if you look off to the left, you'll see another track. That's how the two trains pass. So as we go by, or as they go by, be sure to wave to the passengers on the other trains. We gotta wait for a moment or two because it looks like they lost their pole. And if that pole, if you happen to look up when you get to the Elegant Farmer or back at East Troy, you'll see there's a wire up above us, or maybe you can even see it out this window. There's a pole that's on the roof of the car that extends up, touches that wire. That's how we get the power to run the train. In other words, we never have to worry about running out of gas, which means you guys don't have to push the cars back to East Troy.
There it goes. You see it coming, Andy?
Mm-hmm.
The two cars that you will see passing us, they were built at the same time these cars were, but they were built for the trains that ran on the Chicago elevated railways. So between these cars and that cars, we're working about 200 years old. I'm not quite that old, but I'm getting close.
Did you work for the railroad?
I did not. I had a number of friends that worked for the railroad that discouraged me from doing so. Nope. This hat was given to me by a friend who worked for Amtrak. He retired after a little over 40 years of working for Amtrak and said, "I've had enough. Here, Bob, you collect this junk, you can have it."
This train is starting toward the track. Big old port.
Yes, I do. And I hung over the street. You know, she could get out of that thing. Elizabeth didn't get out of hers. I was strapped in. Before we got out of the trailer park, she'd be out.
Now they have like a burger train, but it's like it's like a hot dog train. I know he worked over the train.
you look off to your left, you'll see a brick staircase.
Oh, I see it.
And if you look kind of up through the trees, you'll see a roadway.
Oh, nice.
Well, back in the day, this was actually a station. It was called Beulah. Trains would stop here, people would get off, they would walk up the staircase, and they would, up at that roadway, they would get on a horse and carriage, and they would ride that horse and carriage for $1.25 out to the Hotel Beulah. Now, back, say, between 1840s until after World War II, and probably into the 1950s, people who lived in cities lived in apartments. Those apartments were not exactly comfortable. First of all, they didn't have any air conditioning. They didn't move like these trains, so they didn't even have 1920s style air conditioning. They were also overcrowded. It's been well documented that there were as many as 15, that is, 15 people crammed into a 2-room apartment. So in the summertime, to escape the heat and the humidity and the overcrowding, people would go either to the nearest city park, forest preserve, or if they had the means, they would go out to the nearest lake. About a quarter of a mile from that roadway, there is a lake. And with the number of people who were trying to escape the city, some developers came along and they decided, oh, we got a lake, lots of people coming here, let's build a hotel. Well, the only thing of it is, the original name of the lake was Crooked Lake. And the developers didn't exactly think people would want to stay at a hotel known as the Crooked Hotel. So they renamed the lake Beulah. And then, of course, when the hotel was built, it was also named Beulah because Beulah was one of the daughters of the developers. And up until about maybe 10 to 15 years ago, there were still descendants of Beulah living in Mukwonago. Now, when this hotel was built, the developers, they wanted it to make every bit a luxury hotel as you could think of. You wanted to compare that hotel to the modern day luxury hotel chains, it would have been the equivalent of, say, a Fairmont, a Hilton, or a Marriott. Now, when it was built, the hotel was built of wood. It had 250 rooms, and it had every amenity you could think of. The key was it was built of wood. And one day, a flame from one of the street lamps caught one of the curtains on fire. The hotel burned to the ground. Good news was, nobody was injured, nobody was killed. Bad news was, there was no insurance back in those days to cover the losses. However, for the developers, the good news was, they had made so much money on the hotel that they were able to rebuild the hotel from the profits. Now, when they built the hotel, they still wanted a luxury hotel, but this time they wanted it bigger and better. So they now built this hotel for 3 stories. And it had even more amenities. In fact, it had electricity. Well, remember, this is back in the early 1900s. How many places had electricity? They also had a telephone system. Again, remember, early 1900s. How many people had telephones? The residents, using their telephone, that telephone system could actually make calls to Chicago, Milwaukee, and Waukesha. Those are the 3 places we know they could make phone calls to, and there were probably others. The only thing of it is, the developers didn't learn their lesson because the second hotel was also built out of wood. And I'll bet you can guess what happened. That's right, that one burned down too. Good news was, once again, no injuries, no death. Bad news was, still no insurance to cover the losses. Even worse news was, by this time, there was so much competition, the owners did not have enough money to rebuild the hotel. So instead what they did, they sold the property. And today, if you drive the road that goes around Lake Beulah, you can still see those houses that were built between 1910 and 1920 on the old hotel property. There is one lasting legacy of the Hotel Beulah, and that's the Beulah Lake Yacht Club. And in the last Olympics that were held in 2020 in Japan, Tokyo, Japan, 3 members of the yacht club were on the American Olympic rowing team. That is the lasting legacy of the Beulah Hotel. The yacht club still exists today. Okay, we are about to arrive at the Elegant Harbor. Please wait until the train comes to a full and complete stop, and I let you know it is okay to get off. If you wish to get back on this train, please be back at 5 to 1. We depart at 1 o'clock. You can stay longer if you wish. However, the last train departs at 4, and if you miss that one, we will automatically enroll you in the East Troy Athletic Club, which means you get to walk the 5 miles back to East Troy.
Plus, you go to East Troy Athletic Club and walk 5 miles. That's all I'm trying to do. Athlete.
They're amplified, I guess.
This is the sign he was talking about earlier. Nice young gentleman. Cool.
Come on in.
Anytime you want. Are you ready? You already had your ticket. Yeah.
There we are. Pretty cool stuff.
So we aren't going to depart. For another half hour.
Stuff out there. Little details. We just rode all the way down there, so a little 5-mile trip. Go. My family's way ahead of me now, so. took a ride on was Chicago Elevated Railway. A little different than what we took earlier. Still fun though. Alright guys, I think that's gonna do it for this video. So like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next one.